Time for a look at the business news now, and Delano de Souza is with us in studio. Morning, Delano.
Good morning, Eve.
We're going to start, I believe, with that announcement from the Fed, which is keeping interest rates on hold.
That's right. No surprises from Janet Yellen on that front. It was a move expected from the Fed, given the devastating impact of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. The chair of the central bank says economic activity has been rising in the United States. Janet Yellen also laid out plans on what the Fed will do to its balance sheet from October. Take a listen.
This accommodative policy should support some further strengthening in the job market and a return to 2% inflation, consistent with our statutory objectives. We also decided that in October, we will begin the balance sheet normalization program that we outlined in June. This program will reduce our securities holdings in a gradual and predictable manner.
So let's take a look then, Delano, at how the markets have been reacting to that.
Well, here in Europe, Eve, stocks are picking up their cues from the close on Wall Street overnight. At the open, the main indices are trading in the green. As you can see, the CAC count here in Paris up 0.4%. It's a mixed picture at this hour over in Asia. The Nikkei in Japan ending Thursday's session up 0.2%, flat across the board elsewhere in the region.
Now, software giant Google has picked up a stake in Taiwan's HTC. Tell us more.
Right. They're buying the team that built the Pixel smartphone for Google in a deal valued at $1.1 billion. The move highlights just how serious the software company is focused on expanding its foray into hardware. According to analysts, Google beefing up its hardware capabilities will make the company less reliant on Samsung, the smartphone maker that's become the dominant supplier of Google's Android operating system. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron, along with his British and Italian counterparts, told U.S. tech firms in New York that he would hold them to account. This for failing to block online and extremist content. President Macron threatened to name and shame companies which failed to take action. The tech firms, for their part, well, they listened, even though they did not send their chief executives to meet with the European heads of state. Google's general counsel was present at the meeting, while Facebook sent lower-ranking executives. Next, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement between the EU and Canada provisionally comes into effect this Thursday. CETA eliminates most trade tariffs between the two sides. Advocates argue the deal will create jobs and boost growth. Opponents, however, say it does little to curb the power of multinationals. Yena Lee reports.
As a massive transatlantic trade agreement partially comes into effect, opponents continue to rally, fearing the impact on agriculture and the environment.
We have a slightly ironic situation where in France the environment minister makes a law to limit the production of fossil fuels, yet at the same time the government is signing a trade agreement which is going to encourage Canada to import the very same problematic products.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the deal emphasizes labor and environmental standards.
We got people to realize that good trade deals, progressive trade deals that are focused on including everyone and not just multinationals and the wealthiest 1% and the country's bottom line, but actually citizens and workers, is the way to move forward.
Advocates say CETA will boost growth for Canada and the European Union. The deal will eliminate 99% of import tariffs. Public contracts will also be opened up for companies on both sides of the Atlantic. And 143 geographic protections will stay in place. For example, Camembert cheese that's not from the Normandy region will have to be called Camembert-style cheese. Not yet implemented is the controversial Investment Protection Scheme, a policy where multinationals could sue governments. Critics say it would let companies influence public policies. This will only come into effect once the treaty is ratified by over 30 European national and regional parliaments, a process that could take years.
Finally, a worker at one airport in Singapore has been charged with mischief. Delana, what have they been up to?
It's a story, but it's an amazing story, really. The 63-year-old man in question was a baggage handler at Changi Airport. Now, he faces 286 counts of mischief. This for swapping baggage tags on a daily basis for 3 months, starting from last November. Now, passengers flying with Singapore Airlines, Silk Air, and Germany's Lufthansa were affected. And if you were one of the unlucky ones, well, your bags destined for New York City or Paris, for instance, well, they landed somewhere else. And the worst part is you can't even find your bags because normally when you lose your bags, you have a description of the bag. You give a description of what the bag looks like. He swapped it out with something you don't know anything about. So.
And you find that amusing, Delana?
I think it's amusing, but I fear to find out what the sentence is going to be, because spray painting in Singapore gets you canes and 3 canes, as well as 3 lashes rather, and jail time. So he's 63. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I failed to find the humour in that, but maybe that's because my bags have gone missing just once too often.
Perhaps.
Delana Souza, thanks for that business.